All right, so it's late. We were getting ready for bed. We also have a puppy, and we were just talking about how there are quite a few things we wish we knew before starting on this journey. So if you are someone who is thinking about getting your own puppy, or if you just got your puppy and you don't know what to expect, we thought it might be a good idea to share with you some things we wish we knew before we adopted our beautiful Labradoodle about 6 weeks ago.
I will say, though, just because we wish we knew these things doesn't mean that we would change anything in the world about this guy. That's my only caveat.
I appreciate that caveat. And with that, our dog has jumped onto the couch. So excuse us while we take care of that because he's not allowed on the furniture. We have a new addition. The puppy has joined the party. And believe it or not, this is a puppy. So he's going to be a fairly large dog. But
he's not even 4 months yet. He's,
Right. He's we got him at 8 weeks and we've had him for 6 weeks. So he's about 14 weeks old. Anyway, let's jump right in. Here are the things we wish we knew. Starting with number 1, your life will change for multiple reasons, but one of the biggest, most obvious reasons is the schedule. Suddenly, your life will be on a schedule, and it's his 100%. Do you have anything to add to that?
It's puppy o'clock all the time. For those first couple weeks, this guy was my alarm clock. And it was not a reasonable alarm. Not a reasonable alarm. It's not like, hey, it's a little early, 6 o'clock. No. It was 4:30. It's middle of summer and the sun's not even out, and he's wide awake.
Yeah, and we have so much to say about that too. There's more to that story, but we'll save that for one of the other things we wish we knew. So we literally have a schedule for him. It used to start at 4:30 when he woke up. Now we've gotten him to 6 a.m., which is when he wakes up now and when we take him out for the first time. Every day of the week, Saturday, Sunday, every day of the week, he wakes up at 6. He goes to bed at 10. And we are on a schedule all in between then with walks and feedings and sleeping time and all of the whole nine. Speaking of the schedule, one of the things that I didn't realize was just how important crate training is and how much time the puppy can spend in the crate and generally sleeping. There's so much sleeping time. It's amazing. For 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4 or 5 times a day, he is straight up sleeping. And those are hours when you can also put him in the crate and help him get used to that space. And he actually starts to like it. Some days he likes it.
I don't think we're quite there at him liking it as much as he tolerates it. But I think it's good to be able to get them used to the crate because, you cannot leave a puppy unsupervised. I mean, you turn your back for 3 seconds and your bathroom is just covered in shredded paper. So for those moments where you have to leave them unsupervised, having a place where you can keep them so that they aren't tearing up the rest of your house and they're safe, I think is very important.
And I think to that point, it's important to say that crate training is really hard. It's really hard because at first they are not happy and Sony still isn't happy. So our puppy's name is Sony. It takes him 5 minutes, sometimes a little longer, to stop whining or barking when he gets put in the crate, and then he settles down. But when we first started, it would be literally, it was a whole hour or something that he would just keep yelping, and you have to be really strong.
I think the one that I think about the most is training and the fact that it's not linear. There are times where it's you have that breakthrough moment. It's oh yeah, he learned down, and you feel great, he's got it. It's perfectly. Every time from now on, I say down, he's gonna do exactly what I told him to do, and maybe he does that for 2-3 days, and then day 4, it's he never heard it. It's giving me an appreciation for how learning happens. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and a couple steps backward.
Sometimes I wonder if the reason training isn't linear is because we're not doing it right. I don't know. But
I just remember like when he like when we first like got him, and you know, the first couple of days he was going in the pee pads the right spot, right time, always. And then after a certain, do you want to partake? After a certain time, he just started not going in those spots and actively avoiding them and trying to find new places to pee.
Another thing we wish we knew about was the puppy energy that we would expect, or that we could expect. So I mentioned that he sleeps for long periods of time, but in between those sleep periods are bursts of energy. With that energy comes a lot of nipping. He likes to softly bite with his sharp baby teeth. It's very gentle. It doesn't seem to be in malice in any way. It's very much playing around, but those puppies hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's trying to hurt you at all. It feels like he's trying to like hold your hand with his mouth. The other thing is, you described it as bursts of energies. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like an explosion of energy, because he'll just do his wind sprints back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for like 30 seconds. And then he's just like, all right, I need to sleep. It's quite a sight to see. It's like something you can only really observe, because he's just on another level. He's just doing his own thing. And you're like, okay, great, tire yourself out. But when that energy gets directed to you, it's a lot to take on at once.
I think it's time to get into some of the more intense things we learned and wish we knew.
I'm being as honest, and I promise you this is a real term. There's this thing called poop butt, and it's real. And this is particular to dogs with longer hair. If their stool is not solid, it can get caught in their hair and starts to mat it down. And there's a whole host of like downstream issues that come from that. Poop butt is real, but two, you definitely want to address it, not just because it looks gross, but because it's actually not healthy for them.
And that's something we didn't know existed, but we were certainly acclimated to it real quick, because one of the other things we didn't know or wish we knew before getting a puppy was the fact that apparently they're very prone to parasites and anything that can essentially give them diarrhea. When we got our puppy, he came to us with a parasite. We didn't know this, but he had intense diarrhea from day one, and that led to poop butt. It also meant that it was very difficult to potty train him because he was going all the time. So remember when Daniel said that at 4:30 he would get an alarm?
Yeah, that alarm came with the smell.
That's how we woke up for like 2-3 weeks every morning at 4:30, because he just couldn't, he just had to go. That's something that we didn't realize would happen, but it did. And there's even more to it, more that complicated our potty training experience.
I think we went in knowing that, particularly if you're in a city, you have to be cautious about where your dog goes. But there's a difference of opinion amongst vets around the level of caution around whether or not they can go outside. So the full context is there's a thing called parvovirus, and it's very, very, very dangerous. It can be very deadly, and it comes from other dogs' feces. And so if you're in a city where there's a lot of dogs and they're pooping in a lot of places, parvo can be prevalent. A lot of peas there. I'm just saying. Some vets will actually recommend, and ours did, that you don't take them outside unless they don't touch the ground. So you take them outside in a bag at most. That means it's really hard for them to get used to peeing and pooping outside. When we first got Sony, the only places that he peed and pooed were in our apartment. Most of the time it was on the pads. That made for a not as clean apartment as we would have liked. And I think it exacerbated some of those issues that Natalia was talking about with his parasite. We discovered like he could get reinfected by his own parasite. Potential that actually extended how long he was ill. Be mindful of the fact that some vets will tell you, hey, don't let him touch the ground. Other vets kind of amenable to it.
And obviously, this is all stuff that we're learning as we go. And we made our own decisions based on the kinds of feedback and suggestions we got from vets and from friends and trainers. But truthfully, it was a much more complicated decision than we expected. With poop butt and the fact that you need to get that area groomed or cleaned or taken care of, unfortunately, one thing we learned was that groomers required certain vaccines before being able to take him to the groomer. And to a certain extent, he couldn't get certain vaccines because he wasn't healthy enough because he had a parasite. So, there's a schedule for the vaccines, but also you need to make sure that your puppy is healthy enough. And then you have groomers, and they're going to want to see a certain level of vaccination, which makes complete sense. But that put us in a difficult position because we were doing a lot of baths. You can only do a bath per week, once per week, and the recommendation is actually every 3 to 4 weeks that you do one. But for us, with a dog that was having this intense diarrhea, we were pushing the limits of that. And we were doing it ourselves. So that's something that we did not expect. Daniel, were there any other things we wish we knew before getting a puppy?
The last thing I will add, and this is a special addendum to the list, is just how much I would fall in love with them. For all the trouble and issues that we've dealt with, as I said at the start, would not trade it for anything. Like, there he is on the couch again. He's not supposed to be up there, but he's just doing his thing. He just brings joy to me every day, as well as frustration, a little bit of pain from the bites, but a happy house.
I completely agree with that. I did not expect to feel as much like this puppy's mother as I do. I can't even explain that. So now I understand those dog moms that I never fully understood before. So if you're looking to get yourself a puppy, or if you just got one and you're trying to figure out what you should know before you dive into the deep end, I hope this was a helpful list of things we wish we knew. Talk to your vet about all these things, but also we hope that the biggest takeaway you get is that we are super happy and grateful for this little puppy. He is amazing. And with that, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video on my channel. Thanks, everybody.